Captain's Pick, the FPL Podcast. Hello and welcome on board flight episode 29 of Captain's Pick, the FPL Podcast. This is your captain and host speaking, Geoff at Geoff Willis, and each week I'll be taking flight to talk fantasy Premier League football. You can find the show on a whole host of podcast services. Just search Captain's Pick. Please leave a review, like, share and subscribe. On today's show, I'll give a quick review of the last few game weeks, talk free hit and chip strategy and my Captain's Pick, and I'll finish off with a quick preview of game week 32. And before anything, a huge apologies for taking a break from the podcast. I think I underestimate the craziness involved with a new job, new city, and coupled with a shocking few weeks in FPL wise, it all got a bit too much. But now I'm back, raring to go in the final stretch of the season. So first, as ever, a quick shout out to the half-season Community League, which started scoring back in game week 20. And was set up to raise money and awareness for Cancer Research UK. The league has now closed, so there are no more entries. And I'm going to give a shout out to the top 10 managers in this league. And I think the winner is probably going to come from this top 10, I would say. Remember, there's a £50 Amazon voucher for the winner of the league. So in 10, I'm just going to do team names. 10 is Alessandro Di Piero. Number 9, Ocean's 11. Number 8, Dynamo Dig. That's friend of the show, Digby Gall. In the top 10 there, which is good to see him in there. Number 7, FC Shanajan. Number 6, you're at FC. And then top 5, so in at 5, Ryan Lee, 50 Shades of Shows. Pretty much been in the top 10. I think most of this half season. And in at 4, we've got Moo is finally out. In at 3 is Zurich Angels. And then in at 2, the top 2 positions, unbelievably, the fact that I've got 3 friends and friends of the show in the top 10. In at 2 is Sorry, but this is my year. That's Kyle. Kyle Gall, who's the younger brother of Digby Gall, who's in at 8. So he's in at 2nd, beating his brother by about 30 points. So some in-family rivalry there in the top 10. And then in number 1, guest on the 3rd episode, I think, of the show, is Mark Downey with his team, No Way Jose. Total of 743 points for this half season. The top 10, there's about 60 points covering that top 10. So definitely think the winner of the half season Community League is in there. So good to see friend of the show Mark at the top there, but with me down in about 72nd place in the league, not doing at all well. I'm not sure how I feel about him being number 1, just chipping away at me, I think. But it's good to see a competitive top there, 10 there, and I think that could definitely change over the next few weeks with chips being used, different strategies. So be interesting to see the next few weeks until the end of the season how that goes. Okay, so I think I'm just going to go into the last few weeks. Obviously, I've missed the last few weeks, so I'm just going to let you know how I did. Not been a great few weeks, if I'm honest. So if we go back to, I think, game week 28, I basically, from game week 23 to game week 29, I had 7 red arrows in a row. Game week 30, I had a green arrow, but then back to a red arrow in game week 31. So game week 28, 51 points. Game week 29, 38 points. Game week 30, 59 points. That was a green arrow. Good week then. And then last game week 31, which obviously was the blank game week. I got 41 points. Took a -8. Had 4 transfers. I obviously had 2-3 transfers, which was nice. And the players I brought in, really, it was only Mane who did well. So I was glad that I did bring him in. Unfortunately, I didn't captain him. Captain Salah instead. So not great. It was 32 points if you take away the hits. Still above the average of 26. And over that time, there was a point there where my overall rank, fell to about 450,000, which is the lowest it's been all season. So again, a shocking time, really. I managed to come back up a few places, so just under 400k now, 397k. Still think the target of being inside the top 100k, still think that's achievable, but I'm going to have to go some in the next few weeks. And so, lucky for me, game week 32, I'm using my free hit. So this is where I'm really trying to make huge improvements in my overall rank and in my mini leagues. So in my main 2 mini leagues, I've slipped to 3rd in one and slipped to 2nd in the other. So obviously the aim was to win both those and get in the top 100k. So I'm sort of failing on all 3 fronts at the moment. Not too far behind in one mini league, but I'm about 100 points down in one mini league where who I mentioned earlier, Mark Downey, who's top of the half-season community league, is 117 points ahead of me. He's had a smashing second half of the season. Still think I might be able to catch him before the end of the season, but it's going to be tough. Yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out, but it's going to have to be a massive few weeks for me to cut into that and try and at least take it to the last game of the season, like last year, where Mark did beat me in the last game of last season. So, but if I can get it to that with a deficit of 116 with 6 game weeks to go, I would take that now if you offered it to me. So my game week 32 squad, my free hit team. This could change. I'm recording this Thursday night. Depending on press conferences tomorrow, this could change before Saturday. But this team's pretty much been set for the last week now. So I'll quickly go through the squad and what my thinking is on the squad, and then I'll go through a quick preview of game week 32 and see where we think the points are going to come. So in goal, I've got Kepa, Chelsea, and currently have a back 3 of Laporte, Man City, Lindelof, Man United, and Wan-Bissaka, Crystal Palace. A midfield 4 of Pogba, Man United, Hazard, Chelsea, Sterling, City, and Hudson-Odoi of Chelsea. And then my front 3 is Vardy, Leicester, Rashford, Man United, and Aguero of Man City, of course. I'll go into my thinking into this in terms of I wanted 3 City, 3 Chelsea, 3 United, and 2 from probably 1 from a Palace defensive point of view. And then I've currently kept Jamie Vardy in. He's my only single game week player that I have. Everyone else has double game weeks. I do fancy Vardy to do really well at home to Bournemouth. I think he'll outscore a lot of double game week strikers, actually. A lot of my rivals have him as well. I'm not sure whether they're going to play their free hits or not. So I definitely want to cover them by keeping him in the team. And I just think he'll do better than a lot of other strikers. I think the main two strikers to have would probably be Aguero and Rashford. You could put Kane in there as well, but he's just too expensive. I'd have to pretty much rip up my whole team to get him in, or take out someone who I think is going to do well. So it just can't seem to fit him in. So I think I'm going to keep Vardy in there. Slight differential, and it may come back to bite me in the butt. But and obviously I know a lot of people would say downgrade Vardy to maybe a Jimenez or a Batshuayi and upgrade Hudson-Odoi. But I just don't think it's going to be too much difference, to be honest. And I just think he's going to do really well. So it's a little bit of a punt. But with 10 of my team as double game weekers, quite happy to have one single game weeker in there. So that's how my squad's shaping up at the moment. My captain is Aguero, always has been, always will be, unless something dramatic comes out in the next 2 days. I think he's the best option. Had the whole international break to rest up. And I just think he's gonna score a load of points, and I just think he's the best option. Sterling's a good option, but obviously chances of him potentially being rested or minutes managed after playing both international games. Likewise with Hazard, 2 good games, but probably will play. I would have thought he'd played the bulk of most of the 2 games, but I just think Aguero's the main man to go for. So what I'll do is I'll go through the fixtures and then relate that how that relates to my squad. So the Saturday lunchtime, Man City away at Fulham. Fulham been awful this season. Can't see anything changing here. That's why I've gone 3 Man City players in my free hit team. Laporte at the back, see him playing both games, and I think could well get 2 clean sheets here. Again, Sterling, I think he'll probably play both matches. Probably start. I definitely think he'll start one and maybe come on as a sub in the other. Could still do damage even as a sub. And as I've already said, Aguero could go huge in that game. Fulham all over the place defensively. It is away from home, but can't really see that changes too much, to be honest. City have been so good this season, home and away. So that's the 3 City players in that one, expecting a big scoreline there. Brighton at home to Southampton. I do have Bednarak as my first sub, but I'm hoping that all my first 11 play at least one game, so I can't see him coming on. But if he does, maybe, I guess there's an outside chance Hudson-Odoi doesn't play, or, well, Vardy could get in last minute injury or something like that. But if I hear about that, I'll definitely be transferring him out. So slim chances of Bednarak coming in, but it could be a clean sheet away to Brighton there. Wolves away to Burnley. I did have Doherty in my team, but just think there's too many risks around rotation. Wolves double game week, plus then they've got the big, huge FA Cup semi-final the following weekend. So I think there will be changes. 2 not easy games. I know Burnley haven't been great this season, but Burnley at home, I think, surely got to put in a big performance sooner or later, especially with relegation looming. Tough one to call, but I'm not too fussed about not having any Wolves players. I think Jimenez starts, he could do well in that game, but again, who knows what kind of rotation they might use in those few games. If Rashford, who's currently yellow flagged, I think he'll be fit, but if he is declared injured, I'd probably just downgrade to Jimenez, or maybe Batshuayi, Crystal Palace. Again, not really too convinced about those, but They're options, but I'm hoping Rashford will be fit. As I just mentioned, Crystal Palace at home to Huddersfield. Wan-Bissaka's yellow flagged at the moment, but we'll see if he's confirmed fit or not. If he's injured, I can bring in Jeffrey Schlupp, who's the same price, or even Tompkins, who's 0.2 cheaper. So, no, not too fussed there, and I could definitely see them getting a clean sheet with Huddersfield at home. Leicester at home to Bournemouth, as I already mentioned. Fancy Vardy to do well in this game. Bournemouth been pretty leaky at the back. In Vardy's last home game against Fulham, he scored 2 goals and got an assist. So I think he's got good form there, especially at home. Could see him doing really well. Quite happy to keep him in my team. I think a lot of free hitters would have took him out of their team or not selected him for sure. So again, that comes as a sort of a differential. And if there's people out there, undoubtedly there will be, who aren't free hitting, I would have thought a lot of them will have Jamie Vardy. So pretty happy to have him in the team. I did have Wilson, but dropped him. But I could see Wilson actually scoring in this match. It would be typical after blanking in the last one. I expect goals in that match. Man United at home to Watford. As I mentioned earlier, 3 United players. Lindelof at the back. Him and his wife had his baby now, so he should be fit and ready to go. Hopefully score and do a baby celebration. Could see a clean sheet there for sure. Pogba and Rashford, they've clicked so well in the second half of the season. Hopefully Rashford is declared fit. I can see them two linking up really well, and I could see United putting up a good big score in that match. Watford could even rest players. Just don't know how they're going to play at Watford. They rested and rotated when they were away at City. There was a slight thinking that I could bring in Deulofeu. But again, much like Wolves, there's so much sort of thinking and thoughts on risking rotation, FA Cup semi-finals, in what match do they play? Is it the easy first match or the tricky first match, and then play the easier second match or the trickier second match? I'm probably just going to stay away from Watford and Wolves again, unless there's any confirmed injury news in my starting lineup that would have to shake things up. But I fancy Man United to do well in that match. And then the late game, West Ham, Everton, got no players from these, both just single game weeks. Who knows? Very up and down, 2 teams, not much consistency there. I have no idea what that score will be. And to be honest, from a free hit perspective, I'm not too bothered either, I'll be honest. So Sunday's games, Chelsea away at Cardiff. Fancy Chelsea to do really well in this match. I've got Kepa in goal. Could see them keeping a clean sheet. Cardiff haven't been great going forward. Certainly haven't been great at the back. Hazard is a must. Did damage against Cardiff in the reverse fixture earlier in the season. And Hudson-Odoi, completely gamble here. Probably won't start, but it's kind of a match where if we're struggling to break down Cardiff, they may bring him on last 20 minutes, half an hour, so we could get attacking points there. Reversely, if we're already 2 or 3 up, they might decide to bring some other bigger players off and bring Hudson on Odoi then, which if we're already 2 or 3 nil up, they might roll over and die Cardiff defence, so it could be chances for Hudson Odoi there. But I admit that is a bit of a gamble, but he's so cheap and he allows me to have Aguero, Sterling, Hazard, Pogba, Rashford, Vardy, so happy to take that gamble. And in the late afternoon game, Liverpool Spurs on the Sunday, no players from either of these teams. Dropped all my Liverpool players in this free hit team. Have no idea what that result will be. Potentially a draw, maybe Liverpool nick it 1-0, maybe 2-1. Would be great to get Kane in my team, but I just have to rip up the whole team. I could see him scoring there, but I just don't like the Tottenham fixtures the way they're situated, and he's so expensive. I wouldn't captain him either. It's too hard for me to squeeze him in. So, but I wouldn't blame anyone for having Kane because he does score. But I just can't fit him in my team. The Monday night game, Arsenal at home to Newcastle. I think if you're not free hitting, if you've got Arsenal players, I think they could do damage here. And a lot of free hitters won't have Arsenal players, so it'll be a differential against free hitting teams for sure. With the likes of Aubameyang, Lacazette could definitely do well in that match. I've got nobody from these teams. They only play once, but I could see Arsenal doing well in that match. And then Tuesday, this is where like the double game weekers start. So Watford at home to Fulham. Again, I think Watford could do really well in this match, but it depends on who they play. Are they going to play a stronger side against Fulham or against Man United? The likes of Deulofeu, Deeney could do really well in this Fulham match, but will they be rested ahead of the FA Cup semi-final on the weekend? Who knows? If they do play, they could do well. I just have no idea which way they're going to play it. And so that's why, for the moment, unless anything drastic happens, I'm steering clear of that Watford squad for the double game week. But it is a good fixture, a really good fixture. But it's too many doubts for me. Likewise with the other match on the Tuesday night, Wolves at home to Man United. Wolves did so well against Man United in the FA Cup quarter-final, obviously winning that. But likewise with Watford, are they going to play a strong team in this game, or would they have played their strongest team against Burnley? Obviously this game's closer to the FA Cup semi-final as well. So many doubts. I mean, they might just play the strongest team in both, but then they've got to play then FA Cup semi-final a few days later. They're going to want to play the strongest side in that as well. So, yeah, it's tricky. Probably Jimenez is the only Wolves player I'd consider. Currently not in my team. If Rashford was out, Jimenez potentially comes in. But again, I'm looking for a clean sheet from Man United even in that match, and looking for my attacking United players to do well. So I definitely wouldn't bring in a Wolves defender. So I'm just going all out Man United there and hope Wolves do nothing and rotate and get nothing from both their games, if I'm honest. Then the Wednesday's games, Chelsea at home to Brighton. Again, great fixtures for Chelsea. Kepa in goal. Could see clean sheets. Cardiff away, Brighton at home. Could definitely see clean sheets there. Hazard going big in both games for sure. And very similar to the Cardiff away match. I could see Hudson-Odoi probably not starting. But there's potential. There's only a few days between the two games. So there might be rotation there and there. Could get a start. Again, could come on last half an hour. May need to break down a Brighton defence, or Brighton might already be 2 or 3 down, giving up the ghost, and Hudson-Odoi comes on and bags at some points. So again, freely admit it's a gamble, but as a Chelsea supporter, it's good to see young players doing well, young Chelsea players doing well. Played excellent for England, so yeah, I don't mind that. It's FPL's about fun at the end of the day, and you got to go for a few of these things sometimes. So yeah, fingers crossed he does well in those. And again, it'd be a massive differential as well, I think, for me. So expect Chelsea good things coming from that Chelsea match. Man City home to Cardiff. Wow, this could be 4-5-6 if City hit good form and Cardiff don't give much resistance. Again, hopefully Laporte clean sheet if he plays twice, which I think he hopefully will. There's been a few injuries at the back for City, so I think he will play both games. Sterling could do damage if he starts or comes off the bench here. And again, I fully expect Aguero to start this match. That's why he's my captain. Could see him getting a hat-trick definitely in one of those games. Could be 4 or 5 goals for him over the 2 games. So that's why the City treble up is a must for me. And then the Spurs home at Crystal Palace. Their first game in the new stadium. Who knows how that's going to go down. It could be a big result for Spurs, or Palace could come and spoil the party. Get a 1-0 win, could you imagine? It's a complete unknown, that one. If Wan-Bissaka is fit, then obviously he starts, hopefully gets his clean sheet against Huddersfield. And then anything from Spurs away is a bonus there. Could even be just like a 0-0 game, quite a lot of nerves. Crowd gets a little bit nervous after a while, after the celebrations have sort of dampered down. If it gets to 60, 70 minutes and they haven't scored, could be a clean sheet there for Palace. Wouldn't expect it, but you just never know in that game. On the other hand, Harry Kane will be desperate to score, so could well get a hat-trick in the first game at the new Spurs stadium. But quite a few unknowns there, and who knows? I'm not too sure about that one. I think could be a draw. Could see that being potentially a 1-1 draw. So that's the game week 32 fixtures. That's how my free hit squad is shaping up in game week 32. On my bench, as I mentioned, Bednarek first, and then I've just got 3 other cheap players. Cheap as chips that will never see the starting 11 whatsoever. I don't even think Bednarek will see the starting 11, hoping he doesn't. I've just tried to maximise the value in the first 11. So yeah, that's free hit squad, Aguero captain, and unless anything dramatic changes, hopefully Wan-Bissaka gets confirmed to fit and Rashford fit. And then I think that will definitely be my free hit team. But do look out for my team. I'll reveal it on Saturday around the deadline, just to confirm those last 2 places, just in case they are confirmed fit or injured. So look out for that. And I think that's where I'm going to land the show. So a reminder that Game Week 32 deadline is this Saturday at 11:30. That's Saturday, 11:30 a.m. Feel free to send in any questions or topics you'd like discussed on the show to either the podcast Twitter account at CaptainsPickPod or the podcast email address captainspickpod@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening to this in-flight podcast. I've been your captain. Good luck with Game Week 32, and until next time, it's been my pleasure to talk with you. Captain's Pick, the FPL Podcast.